Okay, if you can go ahead and read what's on my screen.
Welcome to Spinoza Havara, the Zoom Shul. We are an international participatory community, and as such, we give everyone a chance to read and share. Please don't be shy. Be mindful of how much time you take to share, allowing others equal space. Please do not drive whilst attending the service. If you really must drive, please do not use your video. Please be as present as you would if you were attending an offline service. Please refrain from discussing politics during the service. Please remember to make and unmute as needed. Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, לי 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 לי, הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, לי 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 לי, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, 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 הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, לי 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 לי.
Could someone else read this?
Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi was written in Safed in the 1540s by Shlomo Halevi Alkabetz, a Kabbalist in the circle around Moshe Cordovero and Isaac Luria. At sunset on Friday, the Safed mystics walked out of town into the fields and turned to face the setting sun to welcome Shabbat as it arrived. Lecha Dodi is a song for that walk. Let us go out to greet her. Rabbi Hanina would wrap himself and announce, "Come, let us go out to meet the Sabbath Queen." The bride is the spirit of Shabbat itself, arriving from within and among the people gathered and shaped by their intentions.
Thank you. So although Shabbat is already with all of us, I thought it would be nice to listen to Lecha Dodi together, as if we were welcoming it together.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha, כי מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. יתעוררי, יתעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, 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 שיר דברי, כבוד החיים עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לא תבושי ולא תקלמי, מה תשתוכחי ומה תהני, בך יחסו אני אאמין, ונבנית עיר על קהילה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בלה, גם בשמחה ובצוהלה, תוך אמוני המסוגלים. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
While we sing with joy, we recognize that there are those present who may be in mourning, remembering those they have lost, and to them we say these words of consolation. May you find within you comfort and rest. Timsu betochechem nechama umenucha.
Shalom Aleichem, Maleche HaShalom, Shomrei HaShalom. רודפי השלום, בואכם לשלום, צאתכם לשלום. אוהבי השלום, עושי השלום, שלום עליכם. אוהבי השלום, עושי השלום, שלום עליכם. שלום עליכם, מלכי השלום, שומרי השלום. רודפי השלום, בואכם לשלום, צאתכם לשלום. אוהבי השלום, עושי השלום, שלום עליכם. אוהבי השלום, עושי השלום, שלום עליכם.
Peace be upon you, messengers of peace, guardians of peace, pursuers of peace. May your coming be in peace. May your going be in peace. Lovers of peace, makers of peace, peace be upon you. Let us pause as we close our eyes and listen to the world around us. What is it telling us? What do we notice? Shema, hear. Would anybody like to tell us briefly what they think the world is telling them? My fan is telling me that it's quite hot at the moment.
It was like weirdly quiet where I am. So I was like, oh, maybe everyone's resting for Shabbos.
Same here. It's usually noisier. It's very quiet right now.
Yeah, same. Strange.
Yeah, very quiet. I mean, I could even barely hear the traffic.
Good. Listen, Yisrael, we are all one and our purpose is one. Come, let us work together to improve this world. Shema Yisrael, Kulanu Echad, Ve'yudenu Echad. Hava na'avod, letakein et ha'olam hazeh. And could somebody read this?
And we will love life with all of our heart, with all of our soul, and with all that we are. We place these words in our hearts and souls, binding them as a sign on our hands and as a reminder between our eyes. We will teach them to our children, and we will talk about them while we are sitting in our home, walking on the road, lying down, and getting up. And we will write them on the doorposts of our houses and on our gates. And may our days and the days of our children be prolonged for as long as the heavens are above the earth.
And please rise in body or spirit. And if somebody else could please read this.
Let us regard as holy our commitment to ethics, to justice, to truth, and to human dignity. Let us sanctify life through our choices and dedicate the everyday to acts of compassion and integrity. Blessed are we when we bring holiness, not by ritual alone, but through deeds of justice. We give thanks for life, for community, for family, for our loved ones, and for our freedom. In a world of scarcity, we pause to appreciate what we have. In a culture of constant dissatisfaction, we engage in the fundamental practice of gratitude. Blessed are we when we recognize the abundance in our lives and give thanks for all that we have received. We will work together to build a world of human dignity, recognizing the bond that links all human beings and every nation. We will pursue peace within ourselves, in our relationships, in our communities, and between nation and nation. Blessed are we when we become makers of peace and builders of bridges over all that divides us.
May I guard my tongue from evil and my lips from speaking deceit. And to those who curse me, let my soul be silent, and let my inner being be calm, and may my heart be opened.
ונפשי תהיה שקטה, ולמקללי נפשי תדום, ונפשי תהיה שקטה, וליבי ייפתח. אשמרה לשוני מהרה, ושפתי מדבר מרמה. אשמרה לשוני מהרה, ושפתי מדבר מרמה. ולמקללי נפשי תדום, ונפשי תהיה שקטה, ולמקללי נפשי תדום, ונפשי תהיה שקטה, וליבי ייפתח.
We pause for silent reflection. Let us make peace in the world. Please let us make peace for us, for all Israel, and for all humanity. And we say, Amen.
Na'aseh shalom ba'olam, na'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'nomar, nomar amen. Na'aseh shalom ba'olam, na'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'nomar, nomar amen. Na'aseh shalom ba'olam, na'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'nomar, nomar amen. Na 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 Na'aseh shalom, na'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Na'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'nomar, nomar amen.
We now turn our minds and hearts towards those who need our love, who are ill, who are lonely, who suffer pain, or who have been wronged. Please call out their names.
Karen,
Marcia, Jean, John.
Helen, Rochelle.
May there be a complete renewal for those who are sick, a renewal of spirit, a renewal of body, and we say, Amen. Yeh na refuah shlema lecholim, refuat hanefesh urefuat haguf, v'nomar, Amen. And please be seated. Could a couple of people take it in turns to read these paragraphs?
Torah is the record of the spiritual journey of the Jewish people and the lessons for life and conduct we have learned along the way. It's teaching, law, tradition, the fruit of reason, and the outpouring of spirit in every age. It's an interpretation of text and innovation of thought. Torah is the call for righteousness, justice, and equity. It's the response of each generation to the changing conditions of life.
For us, oh, sorry. Should I go?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Okay. For us, Torah is not a book that fell from heaven, but a living conversation. Human words made holy by the care, honesty, and responsibility with which we receive them. It includes the 5 books of Moses, the prophets, and writings, rabbinic insight, and poetry, modern scholarship and protest, and the voices we add today. It is the questions we dare to ask, and the answers, tentative, challenging, compassionate, we shape together.
Torah is a mirror in which we see both the greatness and the failures of our ancestors, and a partner with whom we argue towards greater truth. It is the way of self-fulfillment and the dream of a better world, written not only on parchment, but in every act of courage, kindness, creativity, and solidarity that we bring into the life of our people and all humanity.
Thank you, everyone. Let's stop share for a second because there's a spoiler. Are you still seeing my screen? You are?
I'm not.
No, you're stopped sharing.
Yeah, I stopped.
Okay. Give me 1 sec. There's been some kind of update. When there are updates, it throws me a little bit, and I don't know how to do what I need to do. Okay, everything is set. Okay. Everybody seeing that okay? Yeah?
Yes,
Okay.
well, sort of.
Yeah. Okay. So I want everyone to imagine with me for a second that we do believe in the word God. Some of us don't already, and some of us do already. So suspend all notions of rationality or irrationality and pretend that you believe in the word God. Whether God be an entity, a person, an energy, or a force, whatever that is, just imagine that you believe in that. And then everybody unmute and say with me out loud, God is
God is
just.
just.
God is just.
So notice what your mind did. Could you tell me what your mind did when you said God is just? Just people say it again and then tell me what your mind is doing with that.
I wanted to like finish the sentence. I was like, God is just, and then I wanted to add something rather than thinking of it as justice.
What did you want to add?
I don't know, but I was like, just what? What is it?
Okay. So it's referring to just as injustice.
Yeah, but I was trying to change it for some reason.
Okay, you tried to change it, yeah. Anybody else? Who has a vague notion of some kind of force or energy that they might sometimes be comfortable calling God?
I have that,
Okay,
but I don't think it's, since it's not an entity, it doesn't have the ability to be just per se. Although the
okay,
whole scheme could be just, I suppose. Scheme of energy could be just, I suppose.
okay, good. Who
Could you
else?
put it back up, please?
Could I?
Could you, I'm sorry, put the paragraph and quote back up on the screen?
I'm having things flashing on the screen periodically.
Yes, I'm seeing a lot of flashing as well.
Yeah, same.
Right now?
Yes, it's been doing it for the
Yes,
last
same.
minute or
Yes,
two.
we're all seeing that.
What about now?
It
It's
is
just too low
stopped.
to read.
But if it's possible for you to put that
It's too
quote
low
back
to
up.
read.
Oh, it's
No,
right?
it's
flashing
there
again.
What's
again.
happening with the screen?
It's
It-
flashing.
It's
And
flashing.
it's showing the view that you would see before you put it onto the to show the slides.
Okay, that's very odd. Now?
Good.
Yes.
Yeah,
Could you
good.
leave it at that for a moment?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I was confused because it was on this, and I was like, I don't know what's happening. Okay, so it's not flashing now. Okay, so who else has some kind of notion of some force or energy that some people call God?
I didn't like to say that because I don't believe it.
Okay, so you don't have that
I
idea.
don't think there's good justice. no matter where it might or might not be coming from. That's supposed to be. I think that's an aspiration.
Okay, so if you say God is just, what does that make you feel?
No, not.
No. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Good. There's no right or wrong answers, by the way. I'm interested in how it feels to say God is just
I kind of balk at it.
because.
Well, I don't believe in a personal God at all.
Uh-huh.
And if we look at nature and the forces of nature in the universe, they are what they are. And
Mhm.
just means a term like justice. Well, who defines what justice is?
Mhm. Indeed. Um, Leon has also written, it also made me feel uncomfortable, sort of cognitive dissonance, because it's so far away from what I really believe. And heaven's reward fallacy. I'm not quite sure what heaven's reward fallacy means. Anybody else? It doesn't matter whether you have a concept of God in some way or not.
I mean, I didn't say it because I just thought I do not believe in this concept. Maybe I'm just too much of a rationalist, so I wasn't going to say something that just didn't make any emotional, logical, or rational sense for me. Except give a
Right.
reason for exercise, so I said no. I mean, you believe in
Yeah,
justice, yeah, but you don't need the notion of a God to do that.
exactly. Right. So a lot of people that do believe in some kind of God, if you ask them, is God just? They balk at it. They're like, I'm not quite sure. Even the God of the Torah says, I have created, today I've created good and evil and placed them before you. I have given you blessings and curses, life and death, etc., etc. So a lot of people struggle, a lot of people who believe in a God struggle with that paradigm. God is just. Also, if you can think about how people say, well, God heals the sick. So you pray and for your relative to become sick, and then to not become sick, sorry, and then your relative either becomes either is healed or is not healed. And a lot of people struggle with that too. So for me, in my personal journey towards us being a spiritual humanist, I struggled with the idea that a lot of people were praying for my father to become healed, to be healed, and then he died when I was 17. And I thought also when people have accidents, I had a very bad accident when I was 13, and I survived, and a lot of people told me God spared you. And I thought, what about another 13-year-old boy that has an accident and dies? Why doesn't God spare him? And then it's like, oh, well, God works in mysterious ways. Okay, fine. But these are the kinds of concepts that a lot of people either hold on to the idea of a God but reimagine it, or move away from the idea of God and become something else, which may or may not include being a humanist. So I said, notice what your mind did. I did that orally. Some of you checked whether you agreed. Is that fair to say? I think a lot of us checked whether we agreed. Some of us knew that we didn't agree straight away, and some of us kind of worked with it a little bit to see, okay, I'm not quite sure if I agree with that or not. Some people may have thought about the Holocaust. Some people may have thought about a relative's cancer or any other illness. Almost all of us, whatever we concluded, treated that sentence as a claim we could either accept or reject. Is that fair to say? Yeah. Okay. So now let's try something else. Justice is godly. So before, some of you might have already seen what was on the screen. Justice is godly, or justice is sacred. Can we say what that sentence means to us?
That works for me.
Okay, could you say the paradigm? Justice
Um,
is
I think
sacred or justice?
when we find places where justice happens, there is a sacredness to what it took to get there and to what results when it is in place.
Mhm.
And so the work, I think, is holy in some sense. I'm not sure I know what holy means, but I feel it at times and I see it at times. So that works for me.
Okay, so justice is sacred or justice is godly works for you.
Yes.
Thank you. Who else does it work for?
It works much better for me, I would say.
Works much better. Why is that?
Well, even though to some degree, I suppose, I'm not so sure if justice is like an absolute term or thing or what, but I mean, obviously, I know I want to take action when I see injustice, but then again, is that subjective on my part? Um, I don't know. So, although it does, it does work better for me, the idea of pursuing justice.
Right.
I mean, at least as it pertains to human society. I'll say
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you. Who else?
It makes me think about the concept of justice because different people have different ideas about justice. Like,
Mhm.
I don't believe that if somebody has killed somebody, they should necessarily be killed. And some people believe that's justice. So, what came to my mind right away is a discussion about what does justice mean in this world, in this life?
Mhm.
I don't know. So,
Uh-huh.
okay, that's
Good.
my
But
thought.
there's something and there's a notion of justice that we might all believe is sacred.
I think it's somewhere that when we make decisions, and especially those even little decisions, but certainly those who have the power to make decisions that affect all of us, which might be politicians or judges, that justice somehow it should be what is foregrounded, and we would instinctively sense, and if it isn't, they're doing something wrong, no matter how well trained, no matter how beautiful the logic. If they haven't got something which maybe all of us would struggle to define in their minds when they're making that decision, it is wrong, and some other decision itself can be open to question.
Yeah.
Almost
Okay.
from a moral standpoint.
Yeah. So human society is working towards, or hopefully working towards, a notion of justice that is more just for all. That's something we can all agree that if we're not doing, we should be doing at least. So we can understand that there is something called justice that is special, beneficial. Thank you, Aaron. Beneficiary, that is sacred or holy or godly or whatever we want, whatever label we want to attribute to it. But justice is godly or justice is sacred works better than God or the divine is just. Is that fair?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. And if we replace the word, the sentence, God heals, how do you think using this new idea, we might reword that? God heals. What would we say instead? Go ahead, Marco.
Yeah, I'm going to say some things, and I don't know whether it will be understood because I'm more given to writing things. But and I'm not a philosophy background, but working with certain words that we've been using over the course of this service, uh, I have heard the word spirit, which to some can be non-theistic,
Mhm.
agnostic. Sometimes it's related to. I've heard the word of aspiration. Both of them have the same root or cognate.
Mhm.
So spirit is within that.
Mhm.
Sacred also can be so. We have things set up. God is just, could possibly be inversed as justice is God. To many in their conception, God is, well, God is one, as one would say in the Shema, but often in visualizing the unvisual, the one is something small rather than one being a universal. So I think, or I'm supposing, without conclusion, the idea where there is justice or there is healing, there is something that we can call, for the sake of this discussion, God, even if one doesn't perhaps identify with a previous definition of what is God. And also the idea that, well, for now, I'm going to just stop there because I am going off track right now. But I'm just going to
Okay.
stop there. And thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you. You said you weren't a philosopher, but that was very philosophical. So thank you. Is there anybody else?
Well, is there a difference between something being godly and God?
Yes. Yes. So that's kind of a good segue, actually. So something different happened when we said justice is sacred or justice is godly. It doesn't really matter which word you use, godly or sacred. But the sentence doesn't ask you to believe anything. It asks you to remember or feel the effect of justice. So many of us discuss what justice means. Do we have perfect justice or not? If I said, instead of saying God heals, healing is godly or healing is sacred, I don't think anybody really would disagree with the fact that somebody being healed of something that is affecting them negatively, that would be a positive thing, a very positive thing. However, if I was to say God heals, well, then what about the boy that didn't survive his accident? What about the 17-year-old boy's father that didn't survive? So predicate theology was conceived of by Rabbi Harold Schulweis of blessed memory, who was responding to Mordechai Kaplan of blessed memory, who said that God is the power in humanity that makes for salvation. That it's transnatural. It's not an entity outside of the human mind. It's part of the human capacity. Harold Schulweis said it was problematic because we're still treating that God as an object or a subject of a sentence. So a predicate is the part of a sentence that tells us what the subject does, and it always includes a verb, but it can also be a verb and an adverb or an adjective. So the dog barks loudly, the subject is the dog, and the predicate is barks loudly. So Harold Schulweis said we've got it all wrong. Basically, we've got the grammar backwards. Where ordinary theology puts God in the subject position and hangs the attributes off it, like God is just, God is good, God is merciful, God heals, etc. Predicate theology forces us, forces us into an unwinnable sequence. We first establish that the subject exists, then argue about its character. Many people never make it past step one. For me, as long as I've been an adult, I'd never made it past that because of my own history and how I viewed the world around me. So whilst ordinary theology puts God in the subject position and hangs attributes off it, predicate theology proposes that we have the grammar backwards and turn the sentence around. Not God is just, but justice is godly. The predicates are what we actually encounter. The subject noun is an inference we have mistaken for a datum. We do not meet a being and then learn that it is compassionate. We meet compassion, and godly is how we experience it. So I'll stop there again and just ask for some thoughts on that. I'm sorry about there was some repetition in the screen, but hopefully that didn't confuse anyone. Go ahead, Margaret.
Thank you. So might I suggest, because I am trying to follow what you said and what was written there. If one were to look at, for example, the 13 divine attributes of God.
Yeah.
If one just were to gather together those.
Yeah.
Then is one creating or perhaps recognizing that having assembled or gathered or recognized, identified those attributes, that you have created perhaps a godly community or a godly world or universe? I don't know.
Repeat the question.
The question is, or the comment is that, okay, what I know about the idea of God is we know God as humans, we know God as we know Jewishly through descriptions of God's characteristics, character traits, and not in a anthropomorphic physical shape. God is incarnate. Now, certainly one can conceptualize an idea of God were one to outside the realms of Judaism, but I'm given this is a Jewish group, I'm referencing that. And through that, I know the listing, don't ask me to recite it, of God's 13 divine attributes, which are not necessarily divine in and of themselves, other than that we call them so, but they are things that we as people can imitate or once again aspire to.
Right.
And
yes.
were we to do so, do we not then create a divine or sacred or godly community, whether community is the Havara or whether we're talking about our whole world? That's where I stop.
Okay. So maybe we should look at them then. That's why I put them up on the screen. Compassion before a person sins. So sinning is falling short.
Can
Compassion.
you enlarge that any?
I can't enlarge it myself,
Okay.
but I think you can pinch your screen.
Can you simply highlight the slide instead, because it's also flashing?
It's flashing again.
Yeah, but if you pick the slide, because I see all the other slides on the side, can you just pick that one slide, which would make it bigger?
It should already be.
But there's a zoom on your screen. You should be able to larger.
That's true. Well, at least if you have my kind of computer, I can.
Is it flashing now?
Yeah, that was better just before, and it's gone back to the original.
What's it doing now?
Flashing.
Flashing.
I don't know why.
Well, you can read it. Do you want to just read it?
No, but I want to resolve this also.
Yeah.
Because I've never had this issue before, so I don't know what's going on.
But you couldn't just pick the slide. You had all the other slides along the
Well,
side.
I have picked a slide.
But it's
Okay, this
okay
Looks like it's
now.
working
it.
now.
This is it.
Yeah.
This is
Okay.
good.
Okay. I don't know what's happening with it. Hopefully it's not taking away from the message. Okay, so I'll read them also. Compassion before a person falls short. Compassion after a person falls short. Mighty and compassionate to all needs. Merciful to prevent distress. Gracious during distress. Slow to anger. Abundant in kindness. Truth and reliability, or reliable. Keeping kindness for thousands of generations, so I guess that means eternally kind. Forgiving intentional iniquity, forgiving willful transgression, forgiving error, and pardoning the repentant. So this is it is very theological, I would say, but I do think that we can also look at it through the lens of predicate theology. Pardoning the repentant. If somebody says, I'm really sorry, I'll forgive them, I'll pardon them. We can pardon them. We can work towards a society, to comment on Margot's comment, we can work towards a society that treats these things as sacred. Forgiving error, again, it's a type of similar to pardoning the repentant. Forgiving willful transgression. Forgiving intentional iniquity. Keeping kindness, always being kind. I think it's hard to argue that there's a time when we should not be kind. Yeah, I think we can be angry, and that's valid. We can be angry and kind at the same time. So I don't think that there's ever a moment when we shouldn't be kind. Being truthful, being reliable, being abundant in kindness, again, it's a repetition of being forever kind. Being slow to anger, being gracious during someone else's distress or our own distress. Being merciful to prevent distress. Being mighty, I guess another way to say that is being strong. And being compassionate to all needs. We might not be able to fulfill everyone's needs or even all of our own needs, but we can still be compassionate even when we can't fulfill the needs. Having compassion after somebody does something wrong, and being compassionate towards someone before they do something wrong. I think is very interesting because before I heard of predicate theology, I had quite a problem with this list. But then when I heard about predicate theology, I was able to look at it again and think, I can agree with this. It's like justice. Do we have perfect justice? No. But are we working towards a society in which justice is treated as sacred? I think a lot of the people that are on this call today are doing that. That is our intention. May not be our only intention, but it's definitely one of them. How do we feel about this?
Yeah, I really like it if you look at it as something that we're working towards as individuals and then we're working towards as communities and societies, rather than it being the characteristics of somebody. It's like what we're aiming for, then it feels much nicer. So I like looking at it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it places the burden on the person. It doesn't say that something else will do this for you. It says you will make this come to pass. You will participate in this. You will, as you say, aspire to make it happen.
Aspirations, yeah.
Mhm.
Indeed. So Harold Schulweis said, religion is behaved, not believed. And I really like that. He said if your religion doesn't push you to enacting these things, to searching for justice, to be good, not to be perfect, but to work towards being good, to work towards being slow to anger, to be somebody that works towards being gracious towards those who are in distress, being compassionate, being forgiving, being truthful, reliable, all of these things. If your religion doesn't do that, then it's not true.
I really like that.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. So this kind of pushes the boundaries of what humanism means, but I don't think it is incompatible with humanism. We do have some people in our community who absolutely would never be comfortable with the word God. I am not comfortable with the word God in English. And a lot of people said to Harold Schulweis, okay, so, but then how do we deal with Elohim? And he said, Elohim is the subject, Elohut is the predicate. Godliness, that's the predicate. I like that because it does this. It doesn't say, well, the capacity to be slow to anger is God. It's not God, it's godly. It's godliness. It's an aspect of godliness. So to me, that speaks very well to me. I still wouldn't use the word God, because I don't believe it's the right word. But I think that's why I align myself with spiritual humanistic Judaism rather than secular humanistic Judaism, because I think there are concepts that we can ascribe sacredness to. And justice is definitely one of them. Would anyone want to respond to that? Or to anything that we've said?
I totally agree with
I
that.
like that.
And I do relate to the word spirit personally more than maybe some people do, but that's how I would look at it, as spiritual humanistic Judaism.
Yeah.
Aaron, well, I mean, spirit of justice, acting towards one another in a spirit of justice. What's that from? That's the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We should act towards one another in a spirit of equality, and things like that. So I think that word spirit works well there, actually. And again, as a predicate. Naturalistic, Aaron said. Go ahead.
So, this may not seem very related, but Gil Fronsdal is a Buddhist teacher in the San Francisco Bay Area. And when they asked him why he doesn't call himself a secular Buddhist, like Stephen Batchelor, he said, if I'm getting this right, that he found secular and the word secularism to be too sort of confrontational. He preferred naturalistic Buddhism. So he just doesn't take literally the magical or mystical, mythological stories and components of the Buddhist, stories, the Buddhist scriptures and stuff. He just doesn't take those literally. They're, so I thought I'd throw that out there, that from a progressive modern perspective, for people who find secular or secularism or secular humanism to be too confrontational, perhaps the word natural or naturalistic, I don't know, but
Yeah. Well, I think that secular humanism can be confrontational and maybe should be confrontational because a lot of the time it's fighting against things that contribute to religious trauma in society, things that don't move us to be a society that is more just. Um, I I just don't use the word secular myself, um, because a lot of people who use the word secular don't use the word spiritual, sacred, holy, anything like that. Sanctifying, blessed, blessed. They don't like the word blessed in the brachot. And I do. So I don't think they have to be mutually exclusive. I don't think that my position on these words is superior to theirs. I think that actually it's all compatible. I think that I think that predicate theology is naturalistic. It's humanist. It's not. I don't think it's theological in that. Even though it's using the word theology, I don't think it's theistic in that sense. Any more comments?
I just think that in a way, the secular humanist is dogmatic in its own way, basically. And I think it's really hard to say there's nothing awe-inspiring or spiritual or in life. I mean, it's got there are words for that because there's something to it. But that doesn't mean you have to have a God running things or any other way of looking at it. But to just sort of say, cancel that aspect of life. And they do that. And maybe they don't all do that. Maybe just I stumbled on the people who do that. But I just not pleased with that. I find it dogmatic. And maybe that's what you mean by the other word you were saying, confrontational. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I've had experiences where I was around secular atheistic Jews who didn't even see any value in humanism. And when I said I don't eat pork, they thought that was ridiculous, and said, well, you should eat whatever you want to eat. And I thought, yeah, and I don't want to eat pork. It's like you're telling me that I should eat something that I'm saying I don't want to eat. And I don't eat it for my own reasons because I view kashrut in a different naturalistic way, in a humanistic way. But that's up to me. That's my prerogative. So there is that element of being militaristic about atheism, to the point of not valuing even humanistic Judaism. So yeah, is dogmatic the opposite of godmatic? I just saw that comment. Yeah, good. Yeah, I don't think there's anything that should be dogmatic about any of this. I'm just introducing a concept that I heard and loved, and nobody has to agree with it or anything. But hopefully it's inspired a few people to something. So yes, so how does this relate to our parsha? So we're in Parsha Ekev. Deuteronomy 10:17 to 19, this section. Moses piles up the grandest possible subject language. God of gods, Lord of lords, great, mighty, also, etc. This God takes no bribes, secures justice for the orphan and widow, and loves the stranger with bread and clothing. Then Moses says, therefore you love the stranger. So the verse does not pause to let you contemplate the subject. It moves straight on to these attributes, and then these attributes are stated and instantly converted into obligation, which is exactly what predicate theology does. So sometimes it's very hard to read a parsha and see how it can be thought of differently, especially if it's a list of things you have to bring to the temple. or what you should do with your slave or not do with your slave. But this one I think fits very well because God is all of these things, but therefore you should love the stranger. I think that's a kind of perfect relationship between the two. Also, the name of the portion supplies a second opening. Ekev means as a consequence of. It does not mean reward. The entire blessing and curse architecture is framed causally rather than juridically. That matters most for chapter 11, 13 to 17, which is the second paragraph of the Shema, which Reform and Reconstructionist liturgies have historically cut or softened. Read as a subject God withholding rain in anger, it is unbearable after the 20th century, and false because the righteous do indeed go thirsty. So you're familiar with the idea that the just are rewarded, that those who do good things will happen to. That's in this parsha. But this is read as consequence. It says something a humanist can affirm without flinching. A community's relationship to its land is not arbitrary. Ways of living have downstream effects on whether the ground goes on feeding you. And the interval between cause and effect is long enough that people mistake the connection for non-existence. This is a description of climate and of moral ecology generally. So there's also, there's a lot there. But the Parsha also says we should not think that we have things because of our own strength. So by my own strength and the might of my hand made me this wealth, the characteristic error of the satisfied. What predicate theology recovers here is not a claim about credit, but a claim about accuracy. Nobody made their own capacity, not the language they think in, not the soil chemistry, not the accumulated labor of the dead that constitutes every institution they inherit. And gratitude is not flattery aimed at a listener, it is the correction of a perceptual error. So is there anything there that anybody wants to comment on? You don't have to.
I'd like to expand on that last line. I'm not sure I grasp it intuitively, just stated like that.
Okay. So gratitude is not flattery aimed at a listener, i.e. God. But being grateful for what we have is not about aiming that at a God that bestowed it upon us. Does that make sense?
It's the last part. What's the perceptual error? That it is
that it's come from.
I see. I understand that. Yes.
Yeah. So also, whilst the Parsha says you should not believe that you've got these things of your own strength, actually, you have them because God loved your ancestors. I think there's still stuff in there that we can aspire to, that we can agree with. I don't live in the society I live in by my own capacity. I can change a little bit my corner of the society I live in, or my corner of the world, through my own capacity, but I don't have free will to change everything around me. I inherit the institutions and society and the society and the political system and privileges and all these things and disadvantages.
Aaron has his hand up.
Oh, okay, I can't see. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to express my gratitude for today's topic, for this service, for the Siddur, and the music and everything. And it's really great. And even this topic coming up on to the high holidays, closer and closer. This is a great struggle. It's a great discussion and topic, getting us ready for, the high holidays. So, and I just think it's great, and I like philosophy, and I like. So anyway, I appreciate it, and it does help me. Like you said, me personally, coming from Orthodoxy at one point, and believing, in the 13 attributes and having, had the fervor of, calling out the 13 attributes and then going to disbelief and atheism. This is this discussion today, and really, of course, humanistic Judaism, but especially the Spinoza Habermas approach and blend,
Mm.
which is not just one flavor. Everybody's
Mm.
got a different flavor. James has a little bit different flavor, which it's all good,
Yeah,
and I appreciate it. Thank you.
thank you. So I don't think that everything in a Siddur, everything in the Torah can be read through this lens. I think there are lines to be drawn. I wrote a Siddur the way I did because I think there is a lot that can be reworded in Hebrew as well as English, without losing the cadence. But I drew lines, but didn't include everything. I didn't reword everything. I got to certain points and just thought this cannot be saved. And it doesn't need to be, because we can create new traditions building on traditions that we've inherited. Masoret literally is about handing down. When you hand something down, you pass it on, shaped by your hands too. So I wrote it with that in mind. Yeah. But I just wanted to quickly, before I move on from the discussion, because it's quite a lengthy discussion, longer than we usually have. I hope that's okay with everybody. But I just wanted to ask whether anybody thinks the blessing for lighting candles, how does anybody know it off by heart?
It's funny you say that because last night I was lighting my candles and I was like, why do I say this every week? I don't know if I buy it or do I know it off by heart? Pretty much. I do it most weeks.
Can you say it?
Not right now.
Okay. Does anybody feel comfortable to say it?
Well, I'll say it
Baruch?
in Hebrew.
Yeah.
Baruch atah Adonai melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehallik ner shel Shabbat.
Yes. So Baruch, blessed, Baruch atah, blessed are you, Adonai, which doesn't mean my Lord, it means my Lords. Eloheinu, our divinity, Melech haolam, sovereign of the universe, or ruler of the universe, Asher Kiddushanu, that sanctified us, Betzivanu, with and commanded us, Ladlik, to kindle Ner, light, Shel Shabbat, of the Sabbath. So blessed are you, Lord our God, sovereign of the universe, who sanctified us and commanded us to kindle the Sabbath candles. Just very, very quickly, is there any way to say that using predicate theology?
Yeah, again, I was thinking about this yesterday, and
Yeah.
now with the new way of trying to think about it, is there a way to, I would like hope there is. I like doing it, but I don't know what way to save it right now.
Uh-huh. So blessed is godliness, or blessed is blessed is godliness that sustains the universe. Or blessed is the force of, well, the force is subject, so we can't say that. Blessed is, or we sanctify, we bless godliness that sustains the universe and sets us aside, which is what sanctify means, and with the commandments that are upon us, to light the Sabbath candles. I was thinking about this earlier, and I thought this is somewhat what Sherwin Wine called word acrobatics that he wanted to get away from. If we mean, we should just say what we mean. Kaplan also wanted to do that, but chose not to in the Siddur. So is that acrobatics, or is that something that can be like worked on individually or in a community? I mean, personally, my blessing that I use now is Brucha Hamasoret. I'll look in my Siddur. Yeah, it's on page 50 of my Siddur. Page 50. Brucha Hamasoret, blessed is the tradition. Shenotenet lanu, that gives us, that bestows upon us actually. Simcha v'sason, joy and happiness. Behad lakat, in the lighting of Ner Shel Shabbat, the Sabbath candles. So, blessed is the tradition which gives us joy and happiness in the lighting of the Sabbath candles. I feel that is somewhat predicate theology. Can we save the other one, or is it easier to devise a new one that means something more personal to us, or that speaks more plainly or clearly to what we believe?
Surely you start with this one, and then that's the beginning of your own personal conversation, really. It may work for you. When you say choose something that makes it more personal, you're assuming that what you've just read out isn't personal. After all, surely whatever words you put into when those words are chosen meant something personal to you, as well as something that could be spread out to the use of others. But other people will read this and they will interpret it their own way. And only perhaps if they can't interpret it in the way draws them out, do they move on to something which does. But ultimately, it's working out what is the meaning behind it.
Yeah.
What meaning is the most personalized for you? And a lot of people, it's going to be the tradition, the history, the continuity, being part of a community, and acting so as to show it. But it won't be the same, but there'll be this common ground. And as I said, your wording may work, but it should be the start.
Yeah.
It's a way of saying, yes, this is this blessing, but you can do it this way. You can still have the ritual. You can have these words, and which are meaningful. These may work for you. If not, find ones which are.
So it's each to their own, basically.
Absolutely. But it's giving everybody permission. You don't have to do things in silence. Like I like the Hanukkah candles, but I do them in silence. Or the Artsite candles. There may be alternatives using the predicate theology like you've described, which will enable us to have some words which do the emotional and ritual work that we've been talking about.
Right, yes. Thank you. Margot, yeah?
Yeah, I just have to say personally that much of my use of language, especially language that we associate with practice, in this case, practice of Judaism, perhaps people who practice other things on top of that, like Buddhism or whatever, but I'm just going to address Judaism now. There is a color to the words that I respond to, that I have certain feelings about, whether they're intellectual, emotional, other kinds. And certain choice of language is going to be more effective, putting me in a space that either feels mundane
Yes.
or a space and a place and a time that feels more elevated. Certainly, when we talk about spirit or things aspirational, which are two different things, but we are often talking about something that is outside the ordinary. So I'm just saying that certain choices made, even though they rationally, or yes, that sounds like a good substitute, it might not reverberate as a good substitute. I'm just saying that without any judgment attached to it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's the case for a lot of people. Like always, we have people who it reverberates with and people who it doesn't, especially in the humanistic Jewish community.
No, say that. Let me, yeah. That I appreciate your saying that. That was really beautifully put, because I could really relate to that. I still, when I first was introduced to any prayers that Paula introduced me, and I started learning Baruch Atah Adonai, I'd never really even spoken Hebrew before. I was brought up without any, I was brought up very Jewish, but without the religious aspects of Judaism, maybe philosophical, but not religious. And I loved the sound of that. And I still, I've always, I've studied language a bit. I'm only fluent. I was at one time only fluent in one other one, French. But I know what you mean there. The sound of saying Baruch Atah Adonai, you know, when I started saying that, I really loved it. I loved the sound of it. What it means, I just didn't think about it. It didn't trouble me. I loved the lighting of the candles and the saying of the words. So that's my dilemma with it. And we've been lighting candles on Friday nights. And we've been saying up until now, we just each sort of say Shalom Shabbat, right?
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, right?
On Havdalah, we say
the other way,
Shabbat
the reverse.
Shalom.
What's up?
But then we play the that wonderful Modeh.
And then I
It really does
burst into tears because I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there are dilemmas. There's no question.
Yeah, that's a lot of food for thought for us there. Yeah.
Well, I think that predicate theology can give some people for whom the original language is more meaningful, and give them some tools to look at it in a different way.
No, I love this conversation today,
Yeah.
and the whole concept of predicate theology. This is wonderful, Martin. Really quite wonderful.
Good, I'm glad. Yeah.
We do have Lane with her hand up though, after you finish whatever you were going to say.
Yeah, I can't see the hands ups. Hand ups. Yeah, go on, Lane. Yeah.
Yes, I just want to say again, appreciative of so many of the ideas that have been expressed. Some of them very resonating, some of them giving me new ways to think. On the topic of the traditional words, I was also not raised with them and came to know them from their sound and the association of doing them in my home, because I've been married twice, both times to Jewish practicing people. Actually, not the first one practicing, but secular at the time. So it comes to my house and is now mine as well. When I speak the traditional words, it's kind of like, the analogy that came to me is if I'm making my grandmother's recipe, and it may not be the way I love to have that dish now, but sometimes I really want to connect with my ancestors. I want to connect with the roots. I want to remember communities of past participation, and I want to connect that with how I carry life forward. And maybe I want to share that food with other people around me. And sometimes saying the words in Hebrew that maybe don't mean what I would wish to mean by them is like my grandmother's recipe. It's like it's a connecting piece. It's the um, legacy that not being raised Jewish, it's important for me to find ways of believing I belong. And one of them is participating in the ways of the ancestors. It's important. And I love your new words, Martin. They give great meaning to the present and ongoing times. Thank you all for this community.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely don't believe it has to be one or the other. Anybody's words doesn't have to be one or the other. Good. Okay. I'll move on from that bit. Okay. May we be blessed with light through the merit of the study of Torah, which grants us knowledge, understanding, and insight. Yehi ratzon shenitbarech ba'or b'zchut limud haTorah hanotenet lanu da'at bina v'sechel. It is a tree of life for those who grasp her, and those who hold on to her are happy. Let us stand as we recall those who are no longer with us. If you are remembering anyone at this point in time, please say their names aloud.
Albert Babbitt,
May there be a good remembrance and compassion and kindness and love from all the world upon our honorable loved ones who are no longer present. Let us make a place in our hearts to remember their good names, and let us honor them with good deeds. May their memory be a blessing. Amen. יהי נא זכרם טוב בחסד ורחמים ואהבה מכל העולם לכבוד אהובינו שאינם עוד, אבל ננצור בלבנו את שמותיהם הטובים ונוקירם במעשים טובים. זיכרונם לברכה. Amen. And we now move to our Kiddush. So whoever has theirs ready, please read the English.
you might read it.
And we, humanity, keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations as an everlasting covenant. For 6 days they worked, and on the seventh day they rested and were refreshed. Therefore, let us bless the Sabbath day and sanctify it. Blessed is the light and life, and blessed is the fruit of the vine to life.
ושומרים בני האדם את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשו מלאכה וביום השביעי שבתו וינפשו. על כן נברך את יום השבת ונקדשהו. ברוך האור בחיים וברוך פרי הגפן לחיים. And if you have challah or whatever special bread, please lead us in the matzah.
If we can eat and drink together, we can live and love together. So let us bless those that bring forth bread from the earth.
אם נוכל לאהוב ולשתות יחדיו, נוכל להיות ולאהוב יחדיו. על כן נברך את המוציאים לחם מן הארץ. May this Shabbat bring you its light, joy, and peace. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you very much, Martin, and everyone, for today's service and discussion.
Thank
And
you.
a Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.